This video is sponsored by MusicGPT, but more on that later. How much better is a 100-hour animation compared to only a 1-hour animation? Well, today, we're conveniently going to be answering just that with 2 Hikari vs Kashimo animations. So without further ado, let's begin. Alright, 1 hour on the timer, so let's go. Okay, so because we've got so little time, the plan is to create only one shot. This shot, where Kashimo screeches to a halt before punching a shipping crate back at Hikari. Now the central most important piece of this shot is the character animation, so let's start there. Typically this would be the most time consuming part, but with a little movie magic, I can turn this shot of me dicking around in my room into a beautiful animation. Which means only 8 minutes into the hour, we've ticked off the first piece of the puzzle. Next comes the second moving object in this shot, this shipping container. Luckily, I was able to find this lovely model on Sketchfab, and with a few clicks it was imported, movement was keyframed, and thus, 18 minutes in, the second piece is placed. How's that look? That looks dog shit. So with 42 minutes remaining, I began filling in the rest of the puzzle, including things like the environment, extra assets, lighting, camera movement, etc, etc. And just as the timer ticked over, the shot was complete. Or as complete as it can be. So let us take a gander. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the 100-hour animation. Now there is a lot of moving parts going into this process, so let me quickly lay out the building blocks over the next 30 seconds. First, I need to storyboard the fight. Directly copying the manga won't work because it's just way too long, so instead I'll be choreographing my own fight. Next up, we'll be building the environment. I plan to mostly copy the manga's scenery with the battle occurring on a shipping container sailing on the ocean. Finally comes the beefy part of this project, the rigging and animation. To help save on time, I've found some great 3D models by Fushiguro, which is crucial considering the 100-hour time constraint. And that's the 3-step plan. So let's begin with step 1, the storyboard. Okay, step 1. I plan to start the animation with Hikari popping his domain expansion and scoring a jackpot. Upon doing this, the battle begins, and Hikari jumps into the air, throwing a punch that comes crashing into the ground. But Kashimo jumps back to avoid this. Standing up, Hikari switches his head-on approach and flash steps behind Kashimo. Kashimo is taken aback for a moment, failing to locate him, but soon notices Hikari's presence over his shoulder and launches a spinning back kick. Ultimately missing Hikari though, as he ducks underneath Kashimo's kick. And I'll leave it there for now. Don't want to spoil the whole thing, do we? Now, although I'm creating my own fight scene, reference footage will be crucial during the animation process, especially because this is my first time animating. So a lot of the shots I have planned are heavily inspired by already existing sequences. I'm sure you'll be able to recognize a few, so do point them out if you see them. Now moving on to step 2, the environment for our animation. First, I created a mesh plane and added an ocean texture. After playing around with the settings and foam intensity, we had our ocean. Next came the boat and shipping containers. Luckily, I was able to find some free models on Sketchfab, so that made this process super easy. But when it came to the sky, here's where I hit my first roadblock. The original plan was to use Blender's sun to number 1, light the scene, and number 2, act as the sky. But the problem was that there was no horizon, so it just looked like the ocean plane abruptly ended and just dropped off the face of the earth. Which meant I had 2 options. Either 1, scale up the ocean to an incredibly large size, or 2, import 4 sky images and create a little box. I went with option 2. It looks a little funky, but I figure most of the focus will be on the fight and not much attention will be paid to the background anyway. So with that, step 2 was completed, leaving only the third and final step remaining, the animation process. But let me stop right here real quick, because something important I forgot to mention during the planning phase was how crucial the post-production and sound design will be to really just tie this whole thing together. With this tool, I can generate my own unique SFX to perfectly fit the vibe I'm going for. Specifically with this animation, I'm dealing with a lot of clothing movement, which requires very specific customization. And a lot of the generic stuff you can download from YouTube, Artlist, etc. it just won't cut it. So all I have to do is add in my simple prompt, and a few moments later, this is what I get back. I'm also thinking some grunting noises could be good to make the animation feel more alive, so heavy, manly grunt, that should do. And now we just wait a minute, if even that, And? Yeah, that sounds perfect. Now, even with all I've shown you, I've honestly only scratched the surface with what this software can do. There are so many other features I think are worth checking out, like their music generator for example. I haven't had the need to use it in this project, but the option to create copyright-free songs is very enticing to someone like me, and possibly someone like you if you're into editing like I am. But anyways, let's move on to that third and final step of the process. First things first was to rig and weight paint the characters. I was able to set up Hikari's rig absolutely fine without any problems, but for some reason with Kashimo, the face was deforming, especially the eye bones. They weren't like properly linking to the texture of the model. Might have been an issue on my end or could have been the Rigify's fault. I've got no idea. So unfortunately Kashimo doesn't have any facial expression throughout the animation, but what can you do? Moving on from that, around the 7-hour mark I began the animation process. Now in theory, animating is easy enough. You keyframe out the main poses and the computer fills in the frames in between. Now I say in theory, because that doesn't account for the lack of anatomical understanding from one rwtbr. Dude, what the fuck am I looking at? Why is he bent like this? Or the understanding of the graph editor. What is that? Of course the fact I'm a Blender beginner didn't help my case, but through sheer repetition my animation skills did improve. So the latter shots of the animation are quite a visual improvement compared to the first few ones. Now around the 85-hour mark I finished the animating, leaving 15 hours for post-production, which was way more time than I needed. I only ended up using 5 of that, but all that means I ended 10 hours shy of the 100 mark. Anyways, that is enough talk, because I believe it is now time we take a little gander at the 100-hour Hikari vs Kashimo animation.
領域展開 ぶった切り こいつ
And there we have it, the 1-hour animation compared to the 100-hour animation. If I were to tackle this challenge again, I think I'd do a much better job with the animating right from the get-go. Using more reference footage is another thing. While I did plan to do it, oftentimes it just slipped my mind or I couldn't be bothered. But overall, I enjoyed this. I hope you did too. And if you'd like to see more Blender projects, just let me know. But that is all I have for today's video. Thank you so much for watching and I will catch you in the next one.